The police released videos on Sunday showing 8 officers involved in a shooting that killed an unarmed black man who fled a traffic stop on June 27 in the city of Akron in the U.S. state of Ohio. At the news conference, police played multiple videos, one of which they said shows a gunshot being fired from the car driven by Jekyland Walker, who is 25, who was being pursued by officers. Walker was shot approximately 90 times, according to the attorney for the Walker family, Bobby DiCello. An initial autopsy showed that he had 60 gunshot wounds on his body after he was pronounced dead in the parking lot where he fell. His death sparked small protests in Akron beginning on Wednesday, with many likening the incident to several high-profile police killing of black people in the U.S. in recent years. We have Dr. Dayo Kayode, political technocrat, joining us right now via the phone to make sense or discuss this conversation. Good morning, Dr. Dayo, and thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure being here. Good morning.
All right, Dr. Dayo, let's look at the sad incident that happened in the U.S., the issue with the killing of this particular black man, 25-year-old, and it's been a topic for quite a number of years now. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, now I'll say that. Now let's talk about this report with the killing of this particular black man in U.S. It's been a recurring decimal, the killing of black people, unarmed black people in the U.S. over the years. What can you say about that?
Yeah, you see, state of Ohio, where that thing happened, at the city of Akron, is a place that I know very well. And really, I read that report yesterday as a news hunter. I called some of my friends in Ohio to get their opinion. No doubt about it that those policemen that can pump 60 bullets in somebody, they have gone beyond, what they're supposed to do. But then if you also read that report very well, you're going to see that the guy that was shot was being stopped by the police. But he refused to stop and he was moving on. He fired the first gunshot. He fired the first gunshot according to that report. And immediately he stopped this car, started running away. Alright? Now, the lessons I want us to also look at is why will someone being stopped by the police refuse to stop? Because I asked those of my friends, even one of them is a journalist there. Does he have a right not to stop when the police stops you? He said no. Do you have a right to shoot at the police? He said no. But then, Ohio is a state that even presently they just passed the law that you can even own a gun without license. The last time I was there, I saw. I will send you the picture. They sell guns freely in the shops. I took pictures of some of those guns. So, to a very large extent, people have been having guns anyhow in that place. Again, when you look at, honestly speaking, when you look at the DNA of we black, the DNA of we black, we are always too aggressive. Most of the time, like I told you that sometimes you see black shooting for police for nothing. Shooting police for nothing. Why? If you are being stopped, you stop. Even when you are not done, you are still running. Why should you now point? Why should you now shoot towards the policeman who is licensed to shoot you? But also is an issue. Yeah. For 60 bullets to be pumped inside a person is absolutely wrong. But then, who instigated it?
Well, Dr. Dayo, we've had cases of Dr. Dayo. Now we've had cases of incessant killing of the blacks in foreign cities, even when those people are unarmed and seemingly innocent. Now, this is a story you have a first-hand experience of it. You're sharing your audio or the experience you had. But then other times we've had cases of black. Now let's have the issue that happened sometime last year with George. So one was a black man that was killed. Now he was unarmed. He was trying to, probably, let's say he was trying to defend himself. He was unarmed, and then we saw pictures and videos of that white police officer kneel on his neck that choked him to death. So we've had issues of that over the years. So is it about this or what has been happening before now?
Yeah. You see, there's no doubt about it that there is a kind of racial competition among the blacks and the whites. But I have to say this. We blacks should reduce our level of aggression, especially when we are licensed to carry guns. No doubt about it. Look at that of Floyd in America the other time. Totally wrong. Somebody who was not carrying arms, and then he's doing that. But mark here again, it should read that story further. It should investigate that issue of Floyd further. You're going to see that there has been a kind of acrimony between Floyd and that particular policeman, whereby he was a bodyguard at a particular club before then. So there has been a kind of acrimony between the two of them. The policeman just look at it like, okay, this time around, let me have a pound of flesh on you. But when you look at issues of shootings here and there, it's mostly blacks. So we need, as much as we are trying to let the whites know that there shouldn't be any kind of racial discrimination, we should also talk to ourselves. We blacks, we should also talk to ourselves that look, let us reduce our level of aggression. And what is the thing that is bringing that aggression? Even here in Nigeria, you will see some people when they are discussing issues, they be blaming it on the colonialists. Since how many years has those people left us in Nigeria here? And can we now be putting what is happening to us on them? What have our leaders done in the last over 60 years? So what I'm saying is, we should learn to live harmoniously with ourselves, whether black or white, whether Christian or Muslim or the other side of the religion. So, yes, very sorry. I wouldn't encourage such a heinous killing, but at the same time, we too should reduce that kind of aggression within our DNA.
Okay, Dr. Dyer, you've talked about, the fact that Walker was the first person, to shoot, and he didn't even stop for a police search, among other things. But there are those who will tell you or ask the question, why shoot over 60 rounds? I mean, the report is 90 shots were fired, but 60 shots were, found on his body, among other things. So the question is, why shoot 60 rounds for just a single gunshot in terms of a response? Again, this is an individual who is on the run, and you're chasing him down, and you fire 60 shots. Conventionally, American police use the Glock, and that's 9mm, and it holds 12 rounds. So in other words, you have probably 5 policemen emptying their magazines just to be able to get the man down, or possibly even reloading. It raises the question again, is this racially motivated? And that's what some, section of the Americans, especially the blacks or the colored people, would deem that it's racially, motivated. Why shoot 60 rounds?
Yeah, you see, if you follow the line of my submissions,
yes,
you're going to see that the first thing I said was that, look, for somebody to have fired 60 shots on a single individual,
exactly,
he has gone beyond what is expected, especially a policeman. And at the same time, we also have to look at these people as human beings. I will never support them for doing that. It is very, very wrong. It shows lack of responsibility as the law enforcement agents, lack of responsibility. But at the same time, why will that guy not stop when he was being stopped?
Mm-hmm.
Two, why? Even while you were running away, were you shooting? Because the report indicated that he was the first person to shoot at the police. Why? So we need, as much as we are trying to talk to the senses of the whites,
Yes.
to stop harassing blacks, we should also tell the blacks to stop this aggression within their DNA. Let me give you one story. I was in Netherlands some time ago. My friend and my friend went to barb our hair, and we saw those blacks. I wouldn't mention which country they are from, you know. We
Okay.
there because we seemingly were speaking the same language, and we were at the 5th floor. We were not looking down because we just didn't get our turn. Could you believe that within a trickle of an hour, because of simple arguments, they started shooting themselves. Black versus black. They started shooting themselves until a white man policeman now went there to get them arrested. So these are issues because that freedom has been there to carry gun anyhow. Even I was just saying just now, Ohio just passed a thing
Yes.
that you can even carry guns without license.
Mm-hmm.
And these are guns that they sell freely on shelf. I think you want to buy them. I have the pictures.
Typical of Republican-controlled
So
states.
these are issues that the Americans also must look at. Before you allow anybody to be carrying guns, you have to first of all check his background in terms of sanity. Whether the brain is working well or not. You have to check that person's DNA to know his level of aggression. So these are issues that need, because when we want to stop, when we are agitating for something,
Yep.
you also have to look at, okay, what do we do so that all these incessant killings will not be happening again? It is another shooting too much.
Yes.
You know, another shooting too much. Even those guys that I called to interview as guys did, because I wanted to get more information why that kind of a thing should be happening.
Mm-hmm.
They told me a lot of things I cannot be saying on the race or the national television.
Yes.
As regards blacks. These people too are blacks. You know, these people too are blacks. They live there, they live with them. And they know what they do. Look at the riot of the Maryland the other time.
Yes.
That happened in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
That one Yoruba woman now went there to take her own child out of the crowd. It was in the news all over the world. They are also blacks.
Okay. Okay.
We should design a concept to be able to talk to our co-blacks.
Yes.
Not to have that eternal blood again. All those are past. Let us all live in peace and harmony.
Okay. But let's look at this now. You know, I know you've said we should, you know, move past racial lines in terms of viewing these issues of gun violence, among others. Let's look at it in line of the ambiguity within the conceptual framework of liberty. You have Republican-controlled states, you know, giving a free license to people. When I mean free license, I mean giving them the free hand, rather, you know, to carry firearms without licenses and what have you. While you have, on the other hand, you know, your Democrats calling for background checks, ban on semi-automatic rifles and what have you. At what point will both sides yield grounds to solve this issue of gun violence, especially with, you know, incessant attacks on school children and what have you, to meet in terms of a common ground where there will be logical gun legislation in the United States?
Yeah. Okay. You see, when we want to stop this kind of a thing, it requires a multidisciplinary approach.
Okay.
Multidisciplinary approach. Because some of them, when you check them, their sanity are not that anyhow. You take alcohol anyhow. And these are substances that can aggravate all sorts of behavioral patterns in someone. That is one. Two, the law in America is just too liberal.
Yes.
A lot of things. Too liberal. To a lot of things. And people get away with it.
That's because both sides are divided in Congress to pass gun legislation.
You say what?
I said that's because both sides are divided in the Congress to pass sensible gun legislation. That's two extremes.
All those legislation should be reviewed. Again, as regards the other side of the police, the police was at every point in time be conscientized. And I say again, be conscientized
Yes.
against racial discrimination.
Okay.
Because most of the time, I've also witnessed it there. Most of the time, when a white man is being arrested together with a black man, you see that white man could be released. And they will be holding on to that black man. So all this kind of thing will also be brooding within the blacks on how to retaliate. So all these things must be looked into properly.
Okay.
When all these things are looked into properly, peradventure, it will reduce all these incessant gun killings and gun running.
You mentioned the fact that the police also need to be conscientized. Let me just take you on that. Now, with the issue with the young man, in systems like that, for you to own your data, they have a database for almost every citizen, and it's logged into their system. For something like this, you did not stop at the traffic, and they are chasing you and all of that. It's not like Nigeria that you know that you may not get this person. There's always a database. Don't you think it was right for the police force on the hand of the police force to have gone back to the database to look for this person, then apprehend him when needful, than to have to go through all of those processes? Because it's okay to, of course, what the young lad did wasn't so nice, but then looking at it from the other hand, two wrongs can really not make a right in that sense.
There's always the need to, rearrange and retrain police personnel on modern practices of policing.
I really wanted to hear his thoughts on this, because there's a database, so you can always get...
There's also the need to change, mentalities and mindsets regarding the relics of, racism. You look at America's ancient scene of slavery, it stemmed from racism. It's just the, fraudulent notion that someone is superior to another on the basis of color and race. So as a result, what you now have is that that's relics right from the time of slavery, even though it has now been abolished, still lingers between the people. Now you would hope that the police understand that there are one people, one nation, but as he has said, more often than not, the way they treat the black people differs, especially in process of arresting or what have you, really. Okay,
now we'll just go on a very short break now. When we come back, we'll reconnect with Dr. Dayo Kayode and hear his thoughts still relating to this issue. We'll be right back. Glad to have you back. Now we still have with us Dr. Dayo Kayode. We apologize for that break in transmission. Dr. Dayo, thank you for staying with us.
It's my pleasure.
And also, before the interruption, I was saying that we know in the US they have a database where they have all the information of every citizen, or almost every citizen, for lack of better words, now in that nation. So on the side of the police, after stopping the young lad, he didn't stop. Do you think, or don't you think it was necessary that they just at least let him go, then go back to their database to apprehend him? And I said that because you mentioned that the police force also should have a level of, paraphrasing what you said now, they should have at least a conscience, they should be conscientized, because two wrongs can never make a right. Yes, sir.
Conscientized against racial discrimination.
Okay, but in the case of that, why is there a database if it's not going to be used?
Even at the point whereby the young man was running away, if you must shoot, you cannot shoot him by the leg and you apprehend him. If you must shoot. Do you understand? And for me, no point shooting. You already have the plate number of the car who was driving. You have already seen him as a person. Then it will be very easy to trace. And that is why I propose that the police in America, especially the white, must be conscientized against racial discrimination. All right? So not until when some of these things are being put in place, there will always be all these incessant shootings and killings in America.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. All right. Something.
Okay, just as we wrap up the conversation, Dr. Dayo, looking at the way things are now, it's a no-brainer when you say that, you know, U.S. has gun violence as a major plague or that it's dealing with. But how do they go off this? I mean, it has to require strong institution, which comes about gun legislation. Will you suggest that, you know, the conservatives move from their extreme down to, you know, a bit of centrism in terms of advocating for bans on semi-automatic rifles and, you know, ensuring that they probably raise the age limit in terms of acquiring guns and just making it more difficult for, you know, criminals to have guns?
Exactly. You know, and to even add to what you just said, freedom in America is too much.
It's ambiguous as a concept.
Freedom. That free. It's not that they don't have a working system.
Mm-hmm.
They have a working system, but that issue of freedom is the one that is affecting America. Nothing more. The freedom is too much. Freedom to do this, freedom to do that, freedom to do this. So you don't see everybody claiming right. In the area, okay, look at, let us come back to our country here.
Yep.
When you see two people claiming right in traffic, what normally happens? Chaos. Chaotic traffic situation. When this one is claiming right, that one is claiming right. Without any other person. Up to tell them, okay, look, yes, you have your right, but let us do it this way so that you can clear this chaotic situation. Hey, that's what is happening in America.
Yes.
Not until when they now put some limits to all those rights. Not until when they put some limits, some red lines, and then all those red lines are being followed. You will still be seeing all this.
Okay.
It's a country of liberty.
Okay.
And it's too much.
Okay.
It has to be controlled.
Okay, it has to be controlled apparently to save lives, especially of children, because we've seen a rise.
The day I thought of us saw all those guns.
Yep.
Being sold freely on the shelf.
When it's not a war zone.
I said, oh boy, this is a serious thing. I carry myself. I tried it. I looked at it. I said, let me tie this up. Go Nigeria for 9 and go.
Okay, Dr. Daya, it's a privilege to have you on the show once again. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure always. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.